Hello, guys. Welcome back to another episode on the show, Control or Be Controlled, a podcast designed to help you start thinking differently and take control of your life. And I remain your host, Darlington. Today's guest is Joel. Today's guest is Joel Bein, founder of Human Liberation, host of the Joel Bein Show, and somehow on a mission to help entrepreneurs break free from stress, self-doubt, and limiting beliefs. Joel describes his work as uncoaching rather than coaching. Instead of helping people build new beliefs or habits, he focuses on identifying and releasing the beliefs he says are driving unwanted emotional patterns. His approach is centered around what he calls the Santa Claus Effect, a process he believes can permanently dissolve limiting beliefs rather than simply managing them. Joy, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, man. Appreciate it.
All right, so before we dive into your methodology, tell us about your own journey. What led you to create Human Liberation?
Yeah, man, it's just passion, just passion to create a world of wholeness. And what I care about is children in this world. And children are sort of the least cared for demographic on the planet, growing up and trying to navigate their relationship to their parents and to school. And they don't have a lot of autonomy so often. They don't have a lot of respect and freedom to make their own choices. And so because children are dependent upon adults, they often will create these defense mechanisms or these beliefs or these protector parts of themselves to navigate and adapt to the environment. So, yeah, I mean, I grew up just having pretty rough home environment in terms of emotional stability not being there, and my mom often screaming at my dad, and I just kind of felt ungrounded a lot, and not feeling relaxed. There's some good things that happened for sure in my childhood, but I just didn't really feel at ease to be myself, and so I built up a lot of walls, and I struggled to be authentic, especially growing up, and then even into my 20s. But as I got into my 20s, I started doing more of that mental well-being healing and processing of my childhood, and just becoming curious. Like curiosity is the antidote, I believe. If you become curious enough, you can heal. So just becoming curious about what actually happened to you. So I did a lot of different personal growth things, from journaling to IFS therapy to psychedelic therapy, Nathaniel Brandon sentence completion exercises, a lot of walks and dreaming, and a lot of that stuff was super valuable. But then I found this particular method in my early 30s that actually is super rapid and permanent in letting go of the root cause of the suffering. That's when I had the light bulb moment. I was like, this is the most powerful tool on the planet. And that's when I took that and ran with it. And I've been going ever since. And then I started the company so I could help other people, so we could help people heal and feel free and feel empowered and get back to their true self, and end the suffering as fast as possible.
All right, thank you so much. So, you work primarily with entrepreneurs. What are the most common emotional struggles and recurring patterns you see among high achievers?
Yeah, what I've been thinking about a lot is how successful entrepreneurs, even like 7-8 figure entrepreneurs, are still anxious about money, even when they have a lot of money on paper. So it's like the clients are coming in, the customers are coming in, the revenue's coming in. Everything's actually good on paper, and there's a lot of evidence of success, and then there's still like your body feels stressed. The nervous system is like worried and is like anxiously checking the projections or looking and refreshing the bank account. It's like there's something in your body that feels worried, or you're having like the thought loops and the rumination about payroll or whatnot. It's hard to sleep. That could be a money thing, but also could be just self-doubt in general. And so there's all these people that are actually already successful, but they're not letting themselves enjoy the success. And they're still pulled down by the root cause that's going back to their childhood around these symptoms, around the thought loops and the anxiety, imposter syndrome, or whatever you want to call that. A lot of people are still feeling like they don't deserve, like they don't deserve the success. And that's just completely unnecessary. And it's just completely manufactured. It's not based on actual reality and physical reality and what's happening in the actual circumstances. It's based on these beliefs that are getting activated. And they're just these programs that are creating and manufacturing the suffering, anxiety, and negative self-talk and so forth. And so, that's some of a snapshot of the suffering. Also, like the overworking and being busy and not letting entrepreneurs not letting themselves just spend time with their family or get some sleep or take a walk or just stop checking email. Like there's a lot of compulsive activity that's based on fear, that's based on anxiety, it's trying to numb, that's based on assumptions that like work has to be hard and success has to be hard and things like that. And so there's a lot of just manufactured stress. And so what I help people with is letting go of that so that they can just be calm and feel free, and they can still take action, they can still create and still build the business and so forth, but doing that with a calm purpose and more inspiration and aliveness, not compulsive action. So that's kind of like a picture of what some entrepreneurs suffer with.
Okay, thank you so much, Joel. So you use the term uncoaching instead of coaching. What does that mean, and why is the distinction important?
So uncoaching, or someone once called me a reverse coach. So like, I don't really coach people because coaching to me means giving feedback and information and advice and frameworks and tips and so forth. It's adding information, right? So like a basketball coach is giving specific feedback on the form of the basketball shooter or their ability to make a cut or play defense, right? There's actually giving feedback so they can build a skill. So what I'm doing is sort of the opposite. It's just subtracting the clutter in the mind. And that's why the results are incredible. And so a lot of coaching or therapy or personal growth stuff is in the adding department. It's in the let's add this skill, which is going to be every time I feel this anxiousness, I'm going to like write it down, and I'm going to like write down the thoughts that I'm having, and I'm trying to choose a new thought that's a better thought, right? So that's like a management strategy to try to deal with all the negativity. And I don't do any of that. I'm not giving my clients information to how to manage. We're just solving and we're subtracting. So the root cause of having these negative thoughts and emotions is the negative beliefs in the subconscious mind. That's what's getting triggered, right? So if you believe that I'm not worthy of success deep down, like a subconscious part of you, then that's what's going to be, once you have that big, like, let's say you sell your company and make a lot of money, and then you still have that belief running, and then that's going to trigger, it's going to push the button. And then there's all this, like, these thoughts are going to come up. They're like, I don't deserve this, or like, I'm a fraud, things like that. Because you just believe deep down, I'm not worthy of success because of something that happened when you were a child. So the technique I have actually is a very rapid approach where we can just address that limiting belief that's in the subconscious and have a logical conversation with that part of the psyche that believes that. And then the belief, it completely disappears in 10 to 20 minutes and it never comes back. And that sounds very much like a bold claim the first time you hear that. But that is actually what happens. And so the suffering that's attached to that belief just completely goes away. And the more beliefs that you clear, the more you just start feeling the calm, and the mind starts to be quiet, and you stop reacting to things and you're just present. So it's just subtraction over addition, and it's permanent subtraction.
All right, thank you so much. So you talk about permanently removing limiting beliefs through what you call the Santa Claus effect. Can you explain what that is and why you believe those beliefs don't return?
So Santa Claus effect is a metaphor that just describes what I was just talking about, which is the permanence of the process. And so most people grow up believing that Santa Claus is real, but then one day they just have a big epiphany, a light bulb moment. Oh, that's not true. I never actually saw Santa Claus. So as soon as that happens, the belief Santa Claus is real disappears and never comes back. Because it's just a logical conclusion that your mind has now figured out. The knot has been untied. And you just found truth. And truth is impenetrable. Truth is truth. So once you realize Santa Claus isn't real, you don't start believing Santa Claus is real next Christmas. It never comes back. So the same thing with all these limiting beliefs. All right. If your subconscious mind just believes, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve it, success has to be hard, making money has to be hard, I don't have enough money, it's not okay to fail. Beliefs about relationships, men, women, beliefs about self, working, money, all sorts of beliefs. Most people have hundreds or thousands of beliefs in different variations and different concepts, different sort of spellings of different concepts. All these neural pathways that are down in the subconscious with these stories that got created when they were growing up. So once you just have the logical conversation with that child self that created the belief in a certain memory, then the belief completely disappears and never comes back. Just like Santa Claus isn't real. And that's why the results are so powerful. So like I had one client that he was making good money on paper. He's a high performance sales coach. He's like, yeah, I have good money, but I just feel like 10 out of 10 money anxiety. Like I look at my bank accounts, my mind starts running. I'm worried about like shouldering the responsibility of taking care of my family. And so he's telling me his money anxiety is 10 out of 10. And then we just start finding the beliefs, asking, what would you have to believe in order for these negative thoughts and emotions to be happening? So it's beliefs like, I don't have enough money, or the way to be safe is to have money. I don't deserve it. Things like this. And so we just ran this 10 to 20 minute process like 3 or 4 times every week. He worked with me for 12 weeks, 1 hour a week. And so each week there's these huge breakthroughs by clearing these beliefs. Just one session, rapid liberation, because we've just let go of these core, deep-seated beliefs. In just 1 hour, like 3 beliefs completely gone. And so now his money anxiety starts going lower. After week 1, it was down to like an 8 out of 10. By the time we got to week 9, he's like, yeah, man, the money anxiety is 0 out of 10. I don't know what to say. There's nothing else to say. It's just kind of wild to me. Because we had actually just found the biggest, most important beliefs that are causing the most of the anxiety. And so then he's just telling me that the money anxiety pattern is now gone. So it's not to say that like there was nothing else that we could have found to even get like more, like there's probably more like residual subtle things that we still could have found. But like for all intents and purposes, like his main pain was just gone. So that's what happens when you get to the root and you actually employ this method, which is based on the work of the late Morty Lefko. But I add in my own style with sort of empathetic, emotional, therapeutic energy that's tied into the original method, which is very logic based. So it's this integration of left brain and right brain, this integration of logic and empathy that actually completely dissolves the emotional charge that's been stuck in the body and creating all these symptoms and suffering.
All right, Joel, thank you so much. So, can you share a client success story that best illustrates what's possible through your work?
Yep, just shared that one about my client Shane, and then another one is Isabella, who came to me. She's a YouTuber, um, making a living on YouTube, but just feeling stuck. She's kept saying that she's feeling stuck. She's having like thought loops and rumination, and just like walking around with anxiety all the time. She said she just could barely even leave the house because she's just so anxious, and just didn't feel like she was making any progress with her business, just kind of plateauing. So same thing. We just showed up. And again, she's telling me she just has 10 out of 10 anxiety. We find these beliefs. They're like these beliefs that are about like safety and love, actually finding the core beliefs, because we can clear any belief. We can just clear any belief with this 10-minute, 20-minute method. But what matters is like digging up like the deepest cause of the anxiety. It's like she's believing that she wasn't safe deep down. Just absolutely, like, I'm not safe. I was like, there's this belief, and so that's like a core belief that was one of the core reasons for her anxiety. So we clear that. It's like 10 minutes, boom. She's been holding on to that belief for 20 years, but then boom, it's gone in 10 minutes. It sounds insane, I know, but it happens all the time. I've been doing this for 5 years and seen this thousands of times, as people carrying these core wounds, and 10 minutes later it's gone. So every once in a while somebody has more defense mechanisms, and it takes a little bit longer than 10 to 20 minutes, but 95% of the time, 90% of the time, probably it's like 10 to 20 minutes, just like clear out these beliefs, and then boom, boom, boom. And so it was just like lining them up and knocking them out with this method. And if people want to go to my podcast, the Joel Bein Show, or they want to check out my website, they can see more like other podcasts I've been on, and I'm demonstrating the method, and you can see it in real time. So I'm very open about this. But yeah. After 12 weeks, she said that it was crazy that her anxiety was at almost 0. The negative self-talk in her head was down by 90%. Like, it's just gone. And again, it's not like she's just completely Zen monk with nothing else to do, but like for all intents and purposes, there wasn't really much else to do. It's like we got the biggest beliefs. The most important beliefs are the like those first 50 that people are they're just carrying around these big core beliefs, and then that's what that's what we need to get rid of the most. So yeah, she had like complete shift, and then yeah, 2 years later, she's saying it's still gone. You know, I just did a podcast with her. Like we worked together 3 years ago. I just did a podcast with her a few months ago, and she's like, "Yeah, it's still the same, it's still gone. All the beliefs are still gone." So
All right, thank you so much, Joel. So, what role does self-awareness play in lasting transformation?
yeah, self awareness is everything. Is if you're just ignoring things, then you're not going to get anywhere. So that's a big thing for this culture is being just more and more awake and aware of what's actually happening. A lot of people are just so separated from their bodies they don't even realize that they're suffering, or it's just so normalized, or it's just buried. Um, so there's a lot of people that are disassociated from their own experience, and they're not aware of their own feelings. Um, and then they just create these strategies, just like pushing through, and then they just think that's the way it is. But if we actually get in there and like say, "Hey, are you willing to admit that this is actually a problem?" Then we can actually solve it very easily. But sometimes that can be painful to look at. So, you know, what I do is very simple and very effective and very fast. However, it is facing truth of your psyche. You know, like you need to be willing to look at what's actually happening, what actually happened when I was a kid, and be honest about that. If you just completely out of touch with that, then you're not going to be ready. But I encourage everyone to be courageous enough to have that awareness to look at the truth of both your present moment experience, like what are you actually feeling in your body, what are you actually noticing, you know, in your mind, what are you tolerating, what are you just normalizing and putting up with, and then also just being honest about where that come from, you know, actually looking at the roots of your experience going through your family and through school, especially maybe religion. A lot of these institutions, they just suppress the child's will, and so looking at that, but it doesn't have to be just like going to talk therapy, which is like just talking about it often and looking at it, but not necessarily specifically letting go of specific neural pathways that are actually causing the pain. So there's definitely a place for analyzing your upbringing, but I just go a step further and like let's get kind of right to the solution, which is letting go of these specific beliefs that are actually causing the negative thoughts and emotions. So, but yeah, the first step is self awareness.
All right, thank you so much. So here is my final question for you. Tell us your long-term vision for human liberation and what kind of impact do you hope your work has on the world?
Yeah, it's a special question. I'm more and more just focused on what's in front of me. Um, but long term, I do believe that this method can actually be ubiquitous. Um, it's just not yet as well known. And so I think once more and more people, once like we can hit like a tipping point and enough people actually have heard about this and then can really spread like wildfire in a good way, you know, like because it's very simple. It's a very simple thing. So the more and more people become awake and aware and like willing to look at the truth, as I've said, then we can just spread the light, if you will, and we can liberate people from this like sympathetic nervous system, the stress, this distress, this suffering, and inner critics. Like people just put up with this stuff all the time. It's just like the voice in your head that's being harsh. Like it's so we're just gotten so used to it as a culture. So, and I've been there too. Um, but we don't actually have to have that voice in our head that's being mean to us. We just need to love it, and liberate it. And the only reason that voice is there is because of the specific beliefs that you have. And when you let go of the beliefs, the noise goes away. Um, Now, there's a lot of, on the one hand, there's a lot of trauma that we experience. So once you clear the biggest layers, there could be new layers to find, like I've said. But my point is that big vision for humanity is that people are just every day are employing this 10 to 20 minute method. I do this all the time, just finding new beliefs and just clearing things just as part of my morning walk. Like just like it's a very simple thing, and then it can alleviate a lot of suffering. And then from there, I just think humans, what I talk about on my podcast a lot, just people, just all of humanity, just evolving to a new stage of consciousness where we can create win-win, and we can be in wholeness and authenticity and aliveness and creativity and freedom versus coercion, and actually treating our children with respect and not passing down the cycle of conditioning, and actually creating a paradigm for children so that they can get their needs met fully and be seen and soothed and secure and safe in relation to their parents, and have the freedom to play and follow their interests and not be forced to go to school, and to actually do what they desire to do and like actually flourish. And then we don't need to have these beliefs happening in the first place. These limiting beliefs don't need to be created in the first place when we raise our children with respect and no coercion and no punishment and no top-down strategies, but all negotiation and reason and collaboration, unconditional love. And so then we break that cycle, and then we have a new paradigm for humanity. So I talk about this stuff on my podcast a lot, the Joel Bein Show, and I love talking about the big visions.
All right, thank you so much, Joel. This has been a very wonderful episode. Thank you for sharing your perspective on emotional freedom, limiting beliefs, and your unique approach to personal transformation. Whether listeners are entrepreneurs, business leaders, or simply people looking to overcome fear and self-doubt, today's conversation encourages us to examine the beliefs that may be quietly shaping our lives, and to stay curious about the many paths people take towards growth. Thank you so much, and do have a wonderful day.
Thanks so much, man. And yeah, if people want to learn more, my website is thehumanliberation.co. And if you're interested in working with me, you can learn more there. Appreciate the conversation.
All right, thank you so much. Also, thanks to all my audience as well. These are the reason why we are doing this every day and why we are here. Do check out his website and make sure to connect with him. Thank you so much, Joy, for coming to my show.